Welcome to those of you who are new to the Female Coaches Society. I am Niala, your host. So if you're new to the group right now, this is the last part of our Growing Your Audience series. So if you're someone who's been struggling with growing your audience, I highly advise that you go over our last 4 trainings for this month, because we went through growing your audience with summits, growing your audience with joint webinars, growing your audience with challenges. And today we're talking about how to grow your audience using Facebook groups. The first tip is make sure you are in groups where your ideal clients are hanging out. I cannot stress this enough. Let's say, give you an example. Let's say you're a health coach, right? What I'm starting to see is, you'll see a lot of health coaches in groups where there are a lot of women, right? Because maybe you work with women, so you feel like being in women empowerment groups, this is great, right? Because there are a lot of women in here. That means that I'm around my target market. But guess what? That doesn't mean that you are around your target market. Actually, it makes it harder for you to find your target market in these groups because they're not looking for you. And this is something I teach my clients all the time. There's a big difference between an audience and a hungry audience. And if you want to make more conversions, you want to get more clients, you want to make your job easier, it's better for you to put yourself in front of a hungry audience instead of just an audience. Let's say you're a health coach and your specialty is veganism, then you might want to be in a group that's vegan for beginners. You know what I mean? Because you know that the people in this group are people who are either thinking about becoming a vegan or they're new at being a vegan and they're looking for help. They're looking for recipes. They're looking for advice that makes them hungry for what you provide. So what I'm seeing is a lot of people are in these big women empowerment groups. And while you may get some traction, you'll get way more traction if you go inside of a group that is more niche and more targeted with people who you are looking for. So I want you to analyze, what groups am I in and are they filled with people who are hungry for the solution that I provide? All right, that's number 1. Number 2, understand the difference between being a lurker and being a member. And I actually got that from Anita, who's in the comments. She's one of our squad members. And I saw her post this morning that she would love to have clients and customers instead of lurkers. Okay. And so I decided to use her word. And so lurkers are great, right? Because they come into the group and they may love things, they like some things, and it helps with your engagement, but then they're not commenting, right? They're not taking action. They're not buying. They're not showing up on the live streams and the challenges and all the things that you're putting out there for them. That's not what you want. And so you have to remember that you as a member, you have to become what you want to attract. Become who you want to attract. So if you want to attract people who are going to come and they are going to engage in your group and they're going to comment and they're going to be a part of things, then guess what? You're going to have to do that as well. You're going to have to be that type of member in someone else's group. So what I advise is that you open up your notepad, you write down 3 to 5 groups where your ideal clients are at, and you become a valued member. We're going to talk about what that means. There's a big difference, okay, with just showing up once a week to put your Facebook group in someone's group versus you becoming noticeable. How do you become noticeable? By being a member, by being a part of things, by joining conversations. That's actually one of my numbers, so I'm skipping ahead. But that's how you become noticeable. If you are the person that's coming in a group every day and you're leaving a quote, for an example, or you're leaving some type of message that's going to empower the members of this group, you are going to start to become noticeable because people are going to see these posts. They're going to be empowered by these posts and they're going to want to know more about you. So let me, this is an example that I use a lot. Let's just look at Instagram, for example. If somebody is always commenting comments that are thoughtful, that are genuine, that gives value on your post, what is the first thing you're going to do? Aren't you going to click their name, go over to their profile, check out their bio, and check out their page? Aren't you going to do that? Well, that's what other people are doing to you. So if you position yourself where you can become noticeable, you're going to see more traction than just showing up to post a link. Okay. And this is really important because I see you guys do that even in this group. And this is why I wanted to talk about that, because as much as I am going to always create a platform where you guys can come and talk about your services, talk about your communities, I want you to get results from it. And so I'm going to tell you that just showing up once a week to put a link, you are not going to get the maximum reach, the engagement, or the clients that you're looking for that way. You have to become a valued member. And so that's one of the reasons why I said make a list of 3 to 5 groups, because you don't want to be in 50 groups. What becomes overwhelming is when you're trying to be a valued member in 50 communities versus choosing 3 to 5 communities that you can really put your time in. Let me give you another tip. Being a valued member also means, coming in and letting people know what you're about. Like, this should be your truck stop. This should be the place where when you come home from work in the evening or you're closing down for the evening, you want to come into your 3 to 5 communities and tell everybody about your day. Tell everybody about your wins. Tell everybody about your struggles. Share pieces of your story, giving valuable content. I cannot stress this enough. Okay? That this is what it means to be a value member versus being a lurker. That was number 2. Number 3. No, that was number 3. Number 4. Don't spam or sell. Do not spam or sell. Now, there are groups that allow you to promo. I'm going to give you my opinion. It might be a little biased, but I'm just going to give you my opinion. Groups that allow you to promo all the time, they are not always the most valuable because everybody is coming in there to promo. So no one is coming in there to learn. No one is really coming in to shop. Everyone is coming in because they want to promo what they have. All right. So what happens is now you have a group filled of people who just promo, and then there's no community. It's just a bunch of spam. Nobody wants to be in those type of groups. So people want to become a part of communities. And so that means that you as a member of a community needs to help your host and your leader create that atmosphere, because what happens is you become more noticeable. You become more noticeable to the host. That way, when you are ready to go to the host and say, hey, just using me for an example, when you come to me and you say, hey, Niala, I teach coaches how to ... do you think that I can do a live in the group to, share some tips? I will be more inclined to say yes to you if I notice you as being a valued member of the community who's always dropping gems, who's always showing up, and who's always being helpful to the other members. I will be more inclined to say yes to you than somebody else who I only see show up once a week to drop a link. I'm going to skip ahead to number 10 and then I'll come back. Number 10 says, give and ye shall receive. This is what this is one of my values. Give and ye shall receive. And so if you become a part of a community where you are giving, trust me, you will grow your audience. You will get leads. And we're going to get in some of the practical advice in a minute. But I just want to start with the mindset stuff. I want to start with how you want to look at Facebook communities. They're not a place to come and just pick things from. It is a community. It is a group. It is a bunch of people who come together who's either looking to accomplish the same thing or learn the same thing or have the same beliefs, and they come together, right? And when you become a part of a community like that, you need to be thinking about giving, not spamming or selling. All right. And trust me, people can read through the spam. People can see when you're only there because you want to get a client, and that's just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I'm not even going to harp on it anymore, because the truth is you wouldn't be on this live trying to get these tips if it was working. So already you know that it's not working. So you need another way of doing things. And the best way is by giving value. Give and ye shall receive. Okay. All right. Next one. Making conversation. This is important. All right. So, when you see people comment, the other day we had a young lady, I think her name is Christina. She's a new member in this group. And she posted by saying that, she's online and she's looking to get some more clients, and she wants some social media tips on how to get more clients on social media. And I saw some of our other members coming and giving good advice. One of the members gave her some advice and said, hey, I have a freebie that can help you. Would you like it? Can I and send it to you in the inbox? And she said yes. And I'm sure they started a conversation, which I'm happy about because that's genuine, right? That's someone who wanted to help, gave tips, and now she may get benefit. She got a lead from that. I don't know what happened there because I don't know these two young ladies, but she got a lead from that, right? Because she offered that freebie, the person said yes, and now she can send it. That is the right way. That is the right way to find clients, to get leads, and to grow your audience from groups. That is the right way. So I want to see more of that, right? So you have to make conversation and you have to help people. It's just, I promised myself that when I came to do Money Marketing Monday today, I wasn't going to push you all too much. But I feel like if I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't, because majority of you are doing Facebook group marketing wrong. As a coach, we are solving problems. We are helping people. And if you want to prove to someone how well your service is, the best way to prove that to someone is by actually doing it. So when you come into these groups and you make conversation and you start to give your tips and share your stories, that is what's proving your expertise. Because when people see that, they're like, yeah, wow, that helps me. But here's another thing that a lot of you do wrong: going in the inbox. Going in the inbox, right? So I want you to tell me below if any of you if y'all see that a lot, even if you didn't do it, but you see it a lot, where somebody may ask a question and then you see a whole bunch of people coming and saying, oh, check your messages, check your inbox. That's something that you're doing wrong. Let me tell you why. So by you going in the inbox, you're taking that, you think that you're doing a good thing, right? Because you're taking this conversation in a more private sense where a person can be more open. But what you're doing really is you're stopping yourself from being able to reach more people, because you might be making conversation on this post and helping someone on this particular post, but you might have another 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 members in this group who may not have asked a question, but they see that response and they need that type of help too. And because you're going in the inbox instead of helping the person right there, you're basically losing a lot of people who you could be helping. So that's another mistake that a lot of you do. Make the conversations right there in the groups. So that way more people can see your value. More people can see your expertise and how great you are at what you do. Okay. All right. Next one, sharing stories. All right. So again, some of this is going to sound repetitive, but I try to write down my 10 tips. Sharing stories. This is another thing that's going to attract a lot of people to you. All right. And so one of the things that I did this year, because I got sick in the beginning of the year, y'all know that I wasn't able to do Money Marketing Monday every week. And there were just times that I was in the hospital. I just couldn't do as much as you guys are used to seeing me do. And so what I did is I would just share my different stories in Facebook groups when I had time. I didn't even have my team doing this. They do other things. I did this myself. And I can tell you the amount of people that message that came into this group that asked me, well, how can I work with you? How can I get that freebie that you talked about? Your tips helped me. Thank you. These are the type of responses and the type of traction that I was able to get this year just from sharing stories in other people's Facebook groups. And let me say that differently, in targeted Facebook groups where my ideal clients are hungry for the solution that I provide. Okay. So share your stories, and your stories don't have to be your rag to riches story. It could just be the story of your ride today to work. It could be the story of the book that you read this morning. It could be a piece of a message that you received from writing in your journal, right? So just get in the habit of sharing. That is how you become noticeable. And I can't, in order to get to the level where you are signing coaching clients consistently, people have to see you as an authority. People have to see you, period. So you have to become noticeable and you have to become marketable. All right, next one. Have a game plan. Have a game plan. So I'm going to share with you this. We're going to get into some practical things here. I'm going to share with you one of my strategies that I use, a part of my game plan when it comes to growing my audience in targeted groups. Okay. So we have a spreadsheet that we use in the back end of my business. And in this spreadsheet, we list the 5 groups. All right. And each group has theme days. Okay. So you know how some groups have motivational Mondays or freebie Fridays, right? Or, gratitude Thursdays. We used to do that in this group. So these groups have different themed posts. And what we do is I have an assistant that every day on these different days, they go into the groups and they write, whatever it is, whether it's posting my Instagram page or posting my group or posting a freebie or an offer, whatever it is, that theme, that's what they would do for me, right? And so we are able to stay on top of the type of results or the type of traction we get because of 3 things. Number 1, keeping it limited to 3 to 5 groups. Number 2, having a game plan. And then number 3, reviewing our results. And so that's how we're able to see, okay, this group we're getting more leads from. This group, we're not really getting much traction from here. Maybe we'll go somewhere else. All right. And so these are the 3 things that I want you to pay attention to when it comes to having a game plan. Don't just do things sporadically, because if you can't measure, you can't grow. Somebody write that below. If you can't measure, you can't grow. And so you got to be able to measure what you're doing. And that starts with having a game plan. Okay. Next one. Make sure you guys have a lead magnet. You've heard me mention freebies several times in this conversation here. You need to have some type of free gift, because when you are marketing yourself in these Facebook groups, that's what you want to be giving away. Another mistake that I see a lot of you doing is posting your offers in groups. People buy from who they know, like, and trust. And so you see how I leaned in on that one. And so that means that if you are not positioning yourself as a member, if you are not giving value, making conversations, sharing your story, turning these groups into your truck stops, we talked about that, right? If you're not doing that, then people don't know, like, or trust you. And so when you're posting these offers, what you're doing is really wasting time. Because if you're spending about 2 to 3 hours a week going in 50 groups just posting offers and no one is buying, then you're wasting time. So what you really want to focus on posting in these groups is free gifts. They are free gifts, a lead magnet that can be valuable and that can help solve a problem. So that way you can get the lead and you can start to nurture, rapport, and build a relationship, whether it's through your emails or whether it's through your DMs, however you do it. And so you want to have some sort of free gift. If you don't have that, I want you to put a 5 below. All right, next one, consultations. So I want to talk about that because I see a lot of people doing that in Facebook groups as well. Again, some people it will work for if you are already known. Okay, if you are already known as the go-to person in your industry, then that will work for you. But majority of people are not known in their industry yet. All right. And so that means that if you go in these groups and you're writing these long behind posts and then telling people to book an appointment with you, it's not going to work. Again, because people need to know, like, and trust you. So you really got to focus on solving problems and giving value. But you also have to recognize what I said in the beginning, your stage of business that you're in. Because what I see a lot of you doing is that you look at these other coaches and you're mimicking what they do, right? Because you're like, oh, it works for them. They're not in Facebook groups. They're not doing lives. They're not doing this. So it's going to work for me. But you're not realizing that the stage of business that you're in, that's exactly what you should be doing. You should be giving value. You should be giving free gifts. You're looking at these ads and you're saying, you don't need a lead magnet, huh? So how do you build rapport with someone? How do you take them from not knowing who you are to raising their hands and saying yes? So you have to recognize what stage of business you're in and what you should be paying attention to so you can grow your audience. So consultations they're not it. You got to be offering the free gift, okay? And I skipped ahead and I said, giving ye shall receive. That was my number 10. And I kind of skipped ahead with that. But yeah, you got to be in the mindset of giving. You know, what really has allowed me to grow so much is because I've always thought about serving. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, I serve and I sell, but I serve first because I understand that that's how it works, right? I understand that, you know, back in the days when I first started in the business industry, being a business owner, it was all about networking offline. We didn't have the Facebook and all of that when I first started, right? And so we used to network at networking events. And when you go to networking events, you don't just say, "Hey, Joanna, nice to meet you. I'm a coach and my program is $5,000. If you need help, book an appointment with me," right? That's not what we're doing. What we do is, "Hey, Joanna, how are you? So what do you do?" We serve, we give advice, we share, we give value. And you guys have to look at it in the same way. So please do not get caught up in everything that you hear out online. Okay? Let me tell you something. I have a lot of I work with coaches, and so a lot of coaches say to me, "Well, Niala, I'm attracting people who they can't afford me." They get on the calls and they said they need time to think. They get on the calls and they got to talk to their husband. They get on the calls and they say, now is not the right time for them. But you will get less of that if you focus on the tips that I'm giving you today. Because when you build rapport with people, you don't have to convince them to work with you. What happens is you start to position yourself where people are coming and asking, "How can I work with you?" When people are saying, "I want to book an appointment with you because I saw your post in that group and it really spoke to me. How can I work with you?" That's what happens when you show up every day and you give value and you position yourself to become noticeable. Last but not least, give and ye shall receive. This is a golden rule. Do not come to take, because it's just not going to work. All right. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you all later.